Okay, Bonita, back over to you. And you're muted, Bonita.
You're right, I was. So anybody have anything that they want to share, or anything exciting happen, or?
Well, I have 2 appointments for this afternoon to actually see people, live people that are already interested.
Awesome.
Yes, and I want to share too that after GoPro, and I've shared this with Bonnie, but yesterday I had a networking meeting with a group, and it's a growing group. Yesterday there were 14 people there, and there's just one gal in there that is kind of ornery to me, let's say. And this has been going on for a few weeks. And yesterday I just felt so good about going in and who I was and what I was doing. You know, it's like that burst of courage really helped. And I just, you know, I have to work on it to keep it there to, and I could use some hints if people have any ideas on how to stay as courageous as we are now, right after Most Powerful Women. But it really did help. And I've written down the 7 habits, and I'm going to keep those in a little something that I can carry with me. I think that, you know, just help remind me. So thank you.
That's great. That's great, Deborah. Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I think your training was spot on today, because I've been mulling this over for, well, since the training, like, okay, we see what we want to go and where we want to be, but how do we get there? What was it that those gals pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and dug in? And so that was a good next step, good carryover
right.
training. Thank
Great.
you.
I'm glad. Anybody else?
Bonnie, I love
Yeah, Ruth.
the number 6, seek a third way. I
Yeah.
do that with my personal life, but when it comes to business, I forget. I keep
Mm.
thinking there's the right and the wrong way.
Sure.
But thank you for bringing that up. That's going to be helpful. to
All
me.
right. Thank you. Mel.
Did you say Mel?
I didn't say Mel.
No. I just find it's really interesting. I have the book, by the way. Would have
Awesome.
been good to read it. It's really old. Anyway,
It is old.
I had a therapist once who read this and changed her whole life and stopped being a therapist. So I'm sure it's really powerful. The thing that really stuck out for me is, you know, I've been in this ancient Chinese energy practice for 10 years. And this guy's a master from, he's an American double board certified doctor, but he studied with this master in China. And these are physics, different physics things that they have learned that are over 5,000 years old. And all these things they teach, you know, they're here in the book, different things that we've been, you know, being taught and being brought up. And it's just like, this is brilliant, really ancient knowledge. Anyway, so I really appreciated your bringing this up. I'm gonna read it.
All right. Thank you. Rosie.
Oh, goody. I did a call because of what you shared, this whole idea of win-win. So years ago, I mean, probably 5 years ago, I was talking with a dad whose son was a wonderful tennis player. And so Lee works in the medical field, and he's like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. And so, and just thinking about win-win, I called him and invited him to the call that Dr. Osler is doing on Saturday. And he said he'd try to get there, but the great part is that it opened the conversation, and I'm really distilling down, we have something of enormous value. And as Debbie Wexler said this morning, you're really not interested because, this is real. And that gave me some additional courage. So thank you for sharing that. I love that book.
All right, great. No, great. Anybody else?
I was just gonna
Buck.
say- I was just
Yeah,
gonna-
Bonnie, oh,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Peg.
Cindy, I didn't mean to step on your tongue.
Go ahead.
I think there are two things that were shared in this list that are critical. One is think win-win to begin with, and then think about how to make others better. Goes kind of along with what we're saying, in terms
Yeah.
of being bulletproof. We're not trying to sell anything. We're out there trying to help people and, keep the focus on the others and not worrying about ourselves, how we're going to show up or any of that. It's about just show up for them, with a win-win attitude that you have a gift. And I think that's, when I think about courage, if you were at the thing this weekend, oh yeah, for me, all I have to do is picture Gloria Mayfield Banks. And it's kind of like, put that suit of armor on and then go in and do good, and if we have a big enough why, nobody's stopping us. That's the way I see it now.
Awesome,
Absolutely.
Peg.
I was
Thanks.
just gonna say to Deb, when Deb says, if you have any tips about how we can maintain this posture, as opposed to just feeling courageous and shoulders back after this event, but then over time getting beaten down back into our little hole where we're playing small and doubting ourselves and doing all this crazy stuff. You might want to, write down some things. Deb, you said something, you're going to carry that little 7 habits of highly successful people around with you. You might want to write down on a card some affirmations that affirm what you're feeling right now, that remind you how important it is for you to play big and be all that you were born to be, and carry that around with you so that you're not only getting reminded of, the tips that people have practiced for ancient, generations, but those specific things that remind you of your genuine specialness. Because Deb, you and everybody else on this call, but you are a critical piece to this puzzle, and you have attributes that other people don't have. And so, flashlight those attributes that you have. It's not bragging. It's not. It's you were born with gifts, and so to highlight, I know that I'm very compassionate. I know that I'm a good listener. I know that whatever those things are, write those down and remind yourself that, those are your sparkles. That's when you leave your little sparkly trail. That's why you're sparkling along the way, because you have those gifts that other people admire and might not possess themselves.
Right,
Right,
Cindy, and
that's
I remember also what Bo shared with us about the mirror. If you put those affirmations on your mirrors, I said mirrors, so it can be in your bedroom, your bathroom, it can be downstairs if you have a downstairs bathroom. I have people that write it on lipstick. They write it in lipstick on their mirror, right? And so I think carrying him is a good idea. And I think, having him in front of you every time you look at yourself. Bo did a whole training on, some mirror work, right? Where we begin to actually see the gifts that we are, that other people may see before we do. And we just have to start to see them and be those.
Yeah, one of those 7 habits is about taking responsibility and being responsible. And it reminds me of a guy that I was reading about, and he actually has a book out as well, but his name is Fleet Mall. And this guy, Fleet Mall, in his 20s was incarcerated for being a drug dealer. And during his time in prison, he did some soul searching, to say the least. And he ended up bringing religion to the prison. He ended up bringing to each of the individuals that were interested in it to being able to start, what do you call it, rehabilitate, because of taking what he calls radical responsibility. Now understand that we are not necessarily responsible if someone says no to us, but we are 100% responsible into how we respond to that. And if we are being proactive in our business and just in our life, we will go back and review, how that conversation went where someone said no. And there may be a possibility that, hey, we are responsible for the no. And one of the biggest things he said that I really appreciated was he said, there is no way that you can feel that you can feel negative about a situation if you're feeling down or something like that, and you look at it and you say, I am responsible. When you take responsibility, you actually cannot become a full-fledged adult without taking radical responsibility in your life. And we need to all consider that, because it is a proactive action, right?
The other thing you can't become is a victim if you're taking 100% responsibility for your life.
Yeah, that's actually what this big thing was too, about, because you cannot feel like or become a victim if you say to yourself at every instance, I am responsible. Because so many people are living in the past of being a victim on things that have happened in the past. Well, you know what? What you're responsible for is your present and your future, not the past. It's done.
One of the things that they talked about this weekend too was, and I loved it, it was one of the key things I took away, is victimhood is the foundation of all suffering. All suffering stems out of coming from that place of victimhood. And so this responsibility conversation is critical, really, to keep yourself out of that little tiny puny little self that you're not. God doesn't make victims, period. End of story. I mean it. I'm sorry, I'm serious about this. Victimhood is such a really sad situation. It's time to kiss it goodbye, bye, and take responsibility for your success and care about people. Sorry, guys, I'm just passionate about this one.
That's great, Peg. Thanks. Deborah.
What is the name of that book, Bo, by Fleet Mall that you're reading?
Radical responsibility.
Oh,
There you go.
That book is actually a workbook. It brings you through a process, which is pretty interesting. In every chapter you have homework, etc. So you may definitely be interested in going at it.
oh, sounds like it. I should be. Yes. And instead of kiss it goodbye, Peg, I was thinking kick it goodbye.
However
This
it
is
best
great,
serves you,
guys. This
Bob,
is-
however it best serves you.
Yes. Thank
This
you.
is great. I love when a training invokes an entire roundtable conversation after the call. It's been wonderful. So thank you all very much for showing up and for participating. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Bonnie.